buildings at ground zero, because every time they pour concrete or put any steel there, it disintegrates. The last I heard a couple of weeks ago was they were going to put a park right at ground zero because it can't build anything there. It just keeps disintegrating. And the buildings that are close by, if you take a walk downtown, I just saw some pictures yesterday, you can see the steel corroding, starting to fall apart because this molecular dissociation is continuing, and they've really got themselves into a fix here by something they cannot fix.
Would it be safe to say that the frequency of that area, that geographic area, has been marred for some time now?
The soil has, yeah.
The soil, the air, everything.
Yeah.
You are part of Pilots for 9/11 Truth at pilotsfor911truth.org. You shared in the first segment we did together that you had filed a, what's it called?
Quid-am complaint.
Quid-am complaint.
Filed by Morgan Reynolds, Jerry Leapard, and had nothing to do with Pilots for Truth for 9/11. It was completely separate. Morgan Reynolds was an economic advisor for the Bush administration, and he left in 2001 and got interested in the fake attack called 9/11, and he is now the world's most informed authority on the attack. And what he did was he filed a quid-am complaint. A quid-am complaint is you're complaining that somebody billed or charged the government and got paid for information that was not true. There was approximately 24 companies, most of them located in New Mexico, where all of the direct energy weapons are being made and being used and being designed. And he filed a suit against those 23 companies. And when Morgan heard me on the radio once, he emailed me and said, would you be willing to attach an affidavit on what you were talking about on the airplanes? And I said, certainly. And I submitted a 15-page affidavit to the New York Supreme District Court. I said mainly it was impossible for an airplane to travel 560 miles an hour. The Boeing 767 is limited to 360 knots, which is about 410 miles an hour, and that's it. You cannot go any faster. No matter how much thrust you have, you can't make it go faster because of the drag that is created. It takes several pages to explain technically and aerodynamically how that works. But I finally got it through everybody's head what I was talking about, and I referred them to the Bureau of Naval Aeronautics manual of when they teach their aviators about aerodynamics. They show these charts and graphs and how that works. In other words, you just cannot add power and go faster, because the faster you go, the more drag you get. And it takes a tremendous amount of power to even get an extra 100 miles an hour. I mean, they don't even build an engine that big that they could have put on the Boeing 767 to go that fast. And there was no reason to go that fast. It was just one of those things that they put out that they didn't think anybody would argue about. But when I read that the three different people that were measuring the speed, the FAA and two or three other places, that it was around 560 miles an hour, it's impossible. It cannot happen. The airplane cannot go that fast.
That's really chilling. And I know that you said this in our first dialogue together. Where was NORAD that day? I don't get it.
NORAD is in Colorado City, Colorado, in the mountain there.
Right, but where were they that day in New York? I thought that if anything enters the airspace, well, I guess if what you're saying is that this thing was done through a direct energy weapon and holographic technology, then nothing did enter the airspace.
Nothing did enter the airspace because they were controlling everything. They kept the phone lines busy to NORAD so that NORAD couldn't get any calls to verify it to launch any airplanes. Whoever the perps were, they just kept the lines busy at NORAD so that NORAD couldn't get any information. The only people that had information were the FAA controllers. Now, the FAA controllers at New York Center, which is there on Long Island, got together that afternoon about 2 o'clock, and there was about 10 of them. And they sat around a table with a tape recorder, a little cassette tape recorder, and each one described exactly what he saw or didn't see and what his opinion was going on. A couple of days after that, somebody high in the administration, and I don't have the name of who it was, ordered them to physically turn over the tape, and it was cut into little teeny shreds. We will never hear what the controllers thought or said or did on 9/11, specifically because they don't want anybody to know that the whole thing was just a fake. And it was a fake because we needed another war. We needed to go into Afghanistan, and so we needed an enemy in Afghanistan. So we made Osama bin Laden the enemy. And we were going to go in and we were going to give Afghanistan democracy, and we were going to help the women get educated, and we were going to do all this and that. But what we really wanted to do was get control of the Hindu Kush. And the Hindu Kush is several provinces in North Afghanistan, which are the exact altitude, exact temperature, exact rainfall, and exact weather for growing opium poppies. And there's hundreds of thousands of acres that we now grow, we harvest, sell, and distribute. And that money is used for black projects. That is good for the people who are running the country because they don't want to have to go to Congress on bended knee and ask for money because Congress always wants to know what the money is for, and they don't want to tell them. It's a secret. They're running the country, not Congress.
I heard that Sandia has a voice morphing technology that they created years ago. Is this true?
Yeah, we can do that.
That's
very
scary.
easy. They could take a sample of yours or my voice and then just say anything they want, and it will sound just exactly like you. They have lots of little technology advances like that. For instance, in the Navy, if you elect, you can get a vision operation to your eyes that will improve your vision by 200%. And the same thing with your hearing. You can hear between 150% and 200% better than normally. And it's a voluntary program, but it is available.
Wow.
And our technology is so far ahead that you can't argue with anybody about how 9/11 was done because they just come back and they say, no, you can't do that. So when you talk to somebody about holographic technology, they can only think in terms of what they know. And what they know is that it has to be a dark room, and you have to have something to project the holographic image against, like a screen or something. And they cannot get it through their thick heads. The technology is so advanced that they don't need that anymore. They can project a holographic image of a flying airplane into thin air. They don't need a backdrop or a screen or anything like that. And it's really tough when getting into arguments with people because they say, no, that's not possible, because they're unable to think of how it could be done. But the fact is, it's none of their business. It's a secret, and it's a technology advance that's way, far and away what they're used to or anything they know about.
I think when Ben Rich talked about how we have the capability to go to the stars, that told us a lot about the level of what we have that we don't have access to.
Well, what he actually said was, we have the technology to take E.T. home. But what he didn't say is we can use the technology to take E.T. home, because I don't think we can get through the Van Allen belt. Now, for years, I thought that we had been to the moon in 1962 and to Mars